What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be doing a little bit of suspension work on the Camaro. Going to be replacing the factory leaf spring buckets with the reinforced adjustable bucket from Cameron Johnson race cars. So I'll get you guys turned around and show you what's going to be going in. Alright, so if you guys have a first, second gen Camaro or 68 to 74 Nova, I believe you're probably familiar with these. This is the leaf spring bucket. So this bolts up into the floor, right along the rear frame rail, and then through two holes in the floor, and then there are speed nuts that actually hold these in. So these are pretty thin, just stamped steel, and then your leaf spring fits up into here through this eyelet. Of course, it's not going to go in. But once that's in there, this bolt comes through, secures the leaf spring into the pocket, and then this gets bolted up into the car. If you're, launching the car pretty hard, or if it's on a real sticky tire, these have been around for a while. Plenty of people have used them. I don't really know how well I would trust them, but that's what they came with from the factory, and they're going to be getting replaced with this. So this is an adjustable leaf spring pocket. See, there are 4 holes on the side there. Each one of these holes will allow you to adjust the ride height of the vehicle 3/8 of an inch. So you have, you could lower the car, you could raise the car. So the floor ends up getting cut. This sits up into the floor, and then it uses 2 of the factory mounting holes, and then your third one uses this rocker brace. So on this particular side, this is going to sit on the side like that. This will rest on the rocker panel itself. This gets welded in, and then this gets bolted to the actual leaf spring pocket itself. When I received these, the hole wasn't drilled, so I'm going to have to get these set up into the car, mark it, and drill it. The other thing is, I would really prefer to TIG weld these onto the rocker, just so you have a little bit more control with the heat going. These are 3/16 of an inch, and I want to say the rocker panels themselves are probably 18 gauge. So I just feel a little bit better TIG welding them in rather than using a MIG. So it might be a little while before I can actually put these in, because I currently don't have a TIG welder. I was borrowing a buddy's for a while. He needed it back, so I'm going to have to get my own. I'm going to have to get my own, excuse me. The other thing I noticed looking at these, so this dowel goes through the Caltrax leaf spring bar. These bushings go on either side, and then these are going to fit up into the pocket. But you'll be able to see it here. These are just a little bit too long, so these are going to have to get trimmed. I could probably do it on the bandsaw here, but I would really rather put it in the lathe and turn it down and get it, precise. So that's going to have to be done tomorrow. I have a buddy with a lathe, so I'll just run over there and throw it in the chuck and turn these down to the correct length. But for now, I'm going to start fitting this and trimming the floor out to get these in. Alright, so this is the section that's actually going to need to be cut out. What I did was went underneath the car, lined up the box, and pretty much just drilled pilot holes through, and came up top with the straight edge, scribed the floor. So I have a rough idea of what needs to actually get cut out. It's probably going to need, 1 or 2 more trims and a little bit of grinding, and we're going to have to clean everything up. But that's pretty much how I determine what needs to be cut out. So I'm going to try and set you guys up here. Alright, this is roughly where it's going to sit. You can see the rocker brace that I was talking about earlier. Once this sits further down, that bolt hole is going to be, that's going to be your third anchor point. It's, it'll be a little bit further up. So I'm just going to get a brief idea of where this should be. I'll run a scribe along this, and we'll start cutting it out. It It's definitely going to need to be trimmed a couple of times. I'm sure there's some other things we'll come across as we're trying to get these fit up, but I'll try and get the camera positioned and we'll start cutting. Alright, so this side is all cut out. There are a lot of layers in there. Apparently the floor comes down, and then there's a second layer under here, and there's a brace and everything. So I'm going to have to clean all this up, and I'm going to want to weld like a closeout panel in there and there right up against the frame rail, just so everything is sealed up, and prime and paint everything. But for now, we'll see if that bucket fits up into the floor, and if we have enough clearance. If not, we're going to have to go back and cut some more. Alright, so we trimmed enough to actually get it fitted up into the floor. I marked the actual bucket for the hole for the rocker brace. So I'll pull this back out, we'll drill that. It is going to need some sort of spacer in between there, just because there is a little bit of a gap. So take a measurement of that once we get that hole drilled, and I'll figure out a spacer for that. And then mill those, the spacers for the leaf spring bushings. We'll mill those down on the lathe tomorrow, and then hopefully we can actually get the leaf springs fitted up in here and figure out which hole we're going to be using. I would like to try and get this thing down as much as possible. The plan is still to mini tub this car. I have the Detroit Speed Kit up in the loft, so those are going to get done. I want to narrow the rear, and I'd really like to fit like a 15 by 12 underneath this car, but we'll see what happens. First things first, you need to get the wheel up into the wheel well as much as possible, because that is that's the look we're going for. So I think that's pretty much it for today. Unfortunately, I don't have access to the lathe or the TIG welder, but we'll get that stuff done. So get back at it tomorrow. Alright, so this side's done. If you can see it, but I made a little closeout panel there, welded it in. Everything's seam sealed. I got a quick coat of primer on it, and we'll move on to the next side. I tried to film this, and I just couldn't get the camera at a good angle. So, but that's pretty much all closed up now. Like I said, I'm going to make a panel to go over this to, you know, just to isolate the inside of the car. But for now, I'm pretty happy with that. There are no openings that weren't there before, and anything that did get cut out got boxed in and welded up. So we'll move on to the next side. All right, finally done. That was a lot more cutting than I really thought it was going to take, but I'm pretty happy with the outcome. Got everything seam sealed, primed. These are going to come back out again, unfortunately. I think I mentioned before that the rear is going to get narrowed. I still have to weld tabs on for the anti-roll bar. I really just wanted to get these in to see where the car was going to sit. So these are actually in, excuse me, the last hole right now. So this is the maximum amount of lowering that these buckets will allow. The driver's side one there. see on the side, the this piece here, it's got a ton of seam sealer on it, but that was the piece that I boxed in so that wouldn't be opened up. Still have to add the rocker supports on there, but like I said, that's going to be done once I get a TIG welder. But yeah, for now, they are both in. The car is back on the ground, so it's actually on casters right now just to move it around the garage. So I'll bring you guys out and show you how it sits. Alright, and that's it. That's really exactly what I was looking for. I really wanted to get that wheel up into the wheel well as much as possible. I think it looks a lot better when it's kind of tucked up in there. But yeah, very happy with this. So just a brief overview of what this car has rear suspension wise. Obviously the spring buckets that we just did. Bring you guys over to the back. Leaf spring sliders. These are actually moved inboard a little bit, just for a little extra clearance when the car does get mini tubbed. These sliders are a kit. There's a guy on Instagram, Matt Funkhauser Racing, that sells them. Really, really nice product, and it actually comes with these tabs as well that bolt on, and then you can weld your parachute cross member to. So really, really nice kit if anybody's interested in that. This also has his billet 1-inch lowering blocks, and then the TRZ anti-roll bar that still needs to have the tabs welded on. And then Caltrax. He actually also makes a shock plate with a billet double shear mount for the shock, which I'm going to end up picking up from him as well. And that was another thing I noticed. So that cross member right above the rear diff is I think it's the Comp Engineering shock relocation kit. And obviously where that was welded in is right up against the diff. Wasn't a problem when this thing sat like a monster truck before, but now that it's low, that's going to have to get cut out. So we're going to have to end up welding in another shock cross member and moving it, or notching that one so it has enough clearance for the diff. So, all right, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you guys for checking the video out. I'm going to put the links down below for the leaf spring sliders and the leaf spring buckets if anybody's interested. Again, those sliders, Matt Funkhauser. It's a small family-run business. Everything is manufactured and welded in the United States. So definitely check him out. He has stuff for other cars as well, not just Camaros. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one.